Howdy, I'm Bob Terry with WesternsOnTheWeb.com. I'm sitting here with Kirby Jonas. All right. Kirby is what are you?
I'm a firefighter, author, artist, musician.
Wow, you only have to have 5 jobs to make a living.
That's true.
That's like me.
Got a few more in there.
But we're in Kanab, Utah, right? That's how you say it, right?
No, I say it.
Utah?
Yep. We got a few other words for it, but I won't say them on here.
Well, if you're looking for free westerns on the internet, if you like western movies and television shows and you want to see free full-length western movies and television shows, come on by www.WesternsOnTheWeb.com for hundreds of family-friendly western television shows and movies, classics, fantastic entertainment. But if you want to read some fantastic western novels, then you need to pick up one of Kirby's books. You co-wrote this one, this Yaki Gold.
Yeah.
And this is co-written with the big guy himself, Clint Walker, which you can come by our channel and on Westerns on the Web and see some of Clint's stuff. If you want to read a book that Clint and Kirby wrote together, you need to come to Kirby's website, and we will embed your website in this video, so the folks will be able to see it. Kirby, how long have you been writing?
Oh, are you going to make me do math?
You know, I can edit out if you're going to count on your fingers. So
my first book came out in '94.
In '94.
Yeah, I've been writing since I was 6 years old.
Since you were, what got you started writing when you were 6?
Yeah, I was writing comic books basically when I was 6, and I wrote my first novel in the 6th grade. Everything seems to go in sixes. I hope it's not like 666.
Well, there is the 4 6s ranch, and that's okay.
That's okay.
As long as it's not 3 6s.
Actually, yeah, Western movies and growing up watching the Virginia and the Big Valley and Gunsmoke pretty much, and playing with Johnny West. I'm sure some of you might remember Johnny West dolls. I used to play with those.
Yeah, the Mark's Johnny West stuff. There was Johnny West, and there's Jane West, and there was Geronimo, and Captain
Maddox.
Captain Maddox, yeah. And then the bad guy. Who was the bad guy?
Sam Cobra.
Sam Cobra, yes. Don't forget the bad guy. He's the one that makes the good guys look good.
That's right. I actually started reading because of Captain Maddox indirectly. My mom bought me one and put it up on the fridge, and she said, if you read so much per day, you can play with this. 4 years old. I was
At 4 years old?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because of Captain Maddox. I always attribute my reading ability to Captain Maddox. 12-inch tall doll.
Could Captain Maddox read?
He couldn't read. That's the scary thing.
He's making you read, and he can't even do it himself.
Well, that's why he had to join the army,
All right. Okay, we talked about how you kind of got into writing, but you didn't really get into. You told me a story about you being in what grade? 6th grade or something like that?
6th grade when I first started writing.
Yes, when you first started writing. I mean, tell me now, how did all that come about?
Well, I was most people don't believe this, but I was extremely shy when I was younger, to the point where if somebody asked me a question, it better be a yes or no question, because that's all they were going to get out of me.
Really? That's all you do is answer yes or no questions?
Yeah, especially if it was any female talking to me. Boy, that was the end of it right there.
See, I just asked him a yes or no question, and he elaborated.
Well, yeah, I don't shut up.
No.
Somewhere around 19, I started talking and haven't shut up since.
But you were in 6th grade when
I was in 6th grade, and my teacher put 4 words up on the board, and one of them was stream, and he said, write a short story about one of these words. And I, of course, was looking. I think one of them was bubble, and one of them was box, and I was looking for something that sounded like it could be part of a Western novel, and stream, or book, story, whatever, and stream sounded like it could be worked in, so I wrote this big, long, 15, 20-page short story called The Stream. And he loved it so much, he read it up in front of the class, and at first I was kind of mortified, because I was proud that he picked mine, but I didn't want him reading my stuff up in front of everybody.
That can be, that really, it's one thing having the teacher read it.
Exactly.
But to expose what your whole inner being to all your classmates, that can be, it could go either way. You could be really embarrassed or very proud because you did something good.
At the time, it was like having everybody read my journal. Almost.
Oh, wow.
And I don't
that's kind of like Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Dear diary.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, he read it up in front of the class, and I decided, wow, that's these guys are really enjoying this story. And then I wrote my 49-page novel after that.
So how long was the first story, the one that you
It
did
was
for class?
15, 20 pages, something like that.
That's pretty long.
It was a
That's
long short story.
How long was everybody else's pages?
Three or
Three or four
maybe.
pages, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were excited about writing. You
Oh,
wanted
yeah,
to do it.
yeah.
It was to everybody else. It was probably another.
Well, yeah, but for me, I had discovered Louis L'Amour in the fifth
Louis
grade,
L'Amour.
so I'd been reading him for a year by then, and
Wow.
so yeah, and of course John Wayne, particularly the movie Rio Lobo. Pieces of that ended up in my book.
Rio Lobo. Wow.
Rio Lobo.
So yeah, I mean, Louis L'Amour. I started reading Louis L'Amour books when I was, gosh, I was probably about 18, 19 years old, and just
Oh, wow.
out in the middle of nowhere reading.
You missed all those great childhood memories then.
Yeah, well, I was doing other things too, but Louis L'Amour, I started reading him, and yes, his books had a very big impact on me.
Yeah, I think they did on a lot of people.
Let's talk about, okay, you wrote, you started writing that 6th grade, right? So you're writing in the 6th grade, and so the writing bugs got you, and now you've got all these books. When were you published first?
Let's see, this book originally was 2 books that were published in 1994 and 96.
Okay.
And that was because it was originally 1 book, and my publisher back then thought it was too long, and she said, I need you to make 3 books out of this. And I went, they're going to be pamphlets. And so I finally, I said, I can't, I'm not cutting it. And then finally, when it started looking like, well, maybe it wouldn't get published, I said, well, how about if I make 2 books? So that's why we ended up with 2, and there was actually, in this now, there's actually 3.
So how did the original ones, how did that, because publishing, I mean, what year was this when you first got published?
94.
94. Yeah. Publishing was a little harder than it is now, So, I mean, tell me, how did you end up getting published? How did you get with the right people?
Total fluke story. My mother-in-law, which I got to bow to my mother-in-law because she's the one that made me a published author, pretty much.
I love my mother-in-law.
She went to a church meeting, and the publisher showed up to try to tell people, hey, if you write a manuscript, you can come to me, pay me $25. I'll critique it for you and tell you how to get it published. So she told my wife, because I had written the manuscript for this book, and it was sitting in a drawer, and that's as far as I intended to take it, because I had heard the bad stories about getting published.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there that'll say, yeah, pay me this much money. And,
exactly.
And, I'll help you.
And I wasn't going
to. Now pay me this much money. Now pay me this much money.
I'm not going to be called, I'm not going to have people saying, you got published by a vanity publisher, so I would rather not be published at all.
Right.
So anyway, my wife told me about this thing, and $25, I thought, $25, that's all I'm going to lose at the most,
Right.
And maybe a little pride. Anyway, so they read it, and they liked it, so they had the woman's sister read it, and she was a huge Western fan, mostly Zane Grey. Anyway, they called us up and said, we want to have a meeting with you, and I thought it was just to take my $25 and tell me how to get published, because that's what the deal was. And they sat us down and said, we read your book, we had our sister read your book, we loved it so much, we want to publish it. And I just went, it's not supposed to be like this.
No, this is supposed to be
hard.
I'm supposed to talk to people for years.
Yeah.
So how old were you when this was going on?
Let's see, I would have been 20, let's see, I was 28. It was right when I started with the fire
department. In your 20s. Wow. Yep. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So then from then, I mean, so you're published, and now are you still with the same publisher?
No, I did the first 2 that they had me cut in half.
Okay.
And the second half, it was the story ended right in the middle. I mean, there was a scene where you're like, this is the worst cliffhanger possible.
Wow.
So I started my own publishing company, Howling Wolf Publishing, and all the rest of these are put out by Howling Wolf Publishing, which allows me to paint my own covers.
So you do, now you said that your original things that you were writing was kind of comic book stuff. Were you doing drawings for those?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much what they were.
Okay, and so you did like that artwork?
Oh yeah.
You did this?
This is actually me, and this is me on a horse at a different, we obviously didn't take them at the same time, but I do a lot of research. So this guy here, I was dressed in shorts, and I was crawling in the gravel like the guy had to do in the book to be able to describe. Anyway, so that's where these pictures.
So there's authenticity in your books.
Yeah, I don't want to write
I mean, if
about
somebody's
anything.
crawling through the gravel, you're crawling through the gravel. What if somebody gets shot?
I
You
was
don't go
just
out
going
and
to
get-
say, see this bear here?
Uh-huh.
This bear shredded this guy in the book, and I didn't
Did
go
you go
research
to a
that.
zoo and go in with a bear? You didn't do that.
I didn't do that kind of. I went and read a whole bunch of stories about other people who got torn up by bears, and the being wounded thing. Yeah, I wasn't going to shoot myself in the foot just to research. There's plenty of people who have described being, and I've got friends that have been shot, so there's some research you can do without having to do it.
That's good. I've never been hit by a car to know I don't want to be hit
Yeah.
by a car.
I can probably describe it without getting hit by a car. So yeah.
All right, now we've touched upon all that, and I mean the artwork is fantastic. You're a good artist.
you.
You're a musician too, right?
Yeah. Well, I thought I was till I listened to the guy.
The guy last night. Man, yeah, he says he does a few Marty Robbins songs. We're sitting out on the table, and he starts singing Marty Robbins songs, and I thought it was a tape of Marty Robbins, and you did too.
I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And his name is what is his?
I don't remember.
Mike
his name.
Ewing.
Mike Ewing.
Michael Ewing. His name was Michael Ewing. He was
It's
fantastic.
worth buying a CD.
Yeah, it's worth buying a CD. All right. So we're looking at this. This is Yaki Gold and Clint Walker, Kirby Jonas, and there's Clint, and there's you, and everybody watching this, I'm sure knows who Clint Walker is. And how did you get hooked up with Clint? I mean, that's
You know that dang flies. the story of me getting hooked up with Clint goes way back farther because it was Jim Drury that got me hooked up. James Drury who got me hooked up with Clint. And I think it was '99. I just barely put that book out. I guess it was '98. That book had been out for a month. And we
now. Wait a minute. James Drury got you hooked up with Clint.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to back up. How'd you get hooked up with James Drury?
That's the story I was just going to
Okay.
tell you. So I go to this Western celebrity, they call it a Western Celebrity Festival
Okay.
in Laughlin, Nevada.
All right.
And I don't know how these guys even found me, but I get a brochure in the mail, and the front of the brochure is James Drury. So immediately my interest is piqued because he's the first actor I ever remember seeing on TV. I used to call him James Jewelry because when I was little, that's how it sounded. That's what I thought his name was.
Does he know that?
He does.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, because we asked him, my brother and I, what's that guy's name? And she says James Drury. And I've never heard Drury before, but I'd heard Jewelry. And so for years, that's what his name was. But anyway, so we go down to Laughlin, Nevada to meet James Drury. And I'm sitting at this table, knowing nobody in this place, I thought. I'm talking to these two old people that we just happened to sit down with. And they're acting like I'm some dumb kid, which I guess I was. I was probably 32 at the time.
Just a child
Just
at
a
32,
child.
yes. Just a babe.
Anyway, so they're saying, well, you probably don't know any of the people that are here, but like there's a lot of famous people around this room. And one of them's behind you right there. His name's James Drury. And I went, and he was sitting right behind me.
What, my hero is behind
Yeah.
me?
So our
Virginian,
conversation
I mean.
with these older people was pretty much over at this moment. I picked up my book and said, excuse
Bye.
me. And
Did you ever see them folks again?
I didn't. Never did talk to him again. Anyway, so I went over to James's table and very rudely interrupted his conversation that he was having with whoever and told him who I was. And I actually have his name, or at least the Virginian, listed in my not about the author, but the author's note.
Okay.
I showed him that, and so immediately we were friends, because I was a fan of the Virginian. And anyway, I gave him this book, and Christmas Eve, he called my house. Nobody else that I gave the book away to that day called or wrote or anything. The Virginian called my house to tell me how much he liked this book and to say he wanted to read it on audio tape.
So now James Drury's calling you on the phone.
Yeah.
Wow.
My oldest living hero. I mean, since I was 3 years old, he's calling me on the phone, and I was at work, so my wife convinced him to call me back Christmas morning. So that's one of I can't imagine too many Christmas presents that can beat James Drury, the Virginian, calling you on Christmas morning. But anyway,
Did he tell you Merry Christmas?
he did, I think. So we talked
fantastic.
quite a while, and like I said, he said, hey, if you ever get a chance to put these on audio, I'd love to be the narrator for you. And I already had a friend who owned a audio company, Books in Motion. And so I said, hey, I just happen to know this guy, and I told him that story. And so I got the two of them together, and this book, my first, well, I shouldn't say first, my third, fourth, fifth, and sixth books were all read on tape by James Drury.
James Drury. Wow.
So to continue the story, then he sent him. He just so happens to be a huge fan of Clint Walker, like all of us are, and he sends him all 4 of these audios for free. So Clint reads or he listens to The Dancing Star, and he calls up Jim and says, "Oh man, you made me forget to do my chores." And he said, "I love that book," and so I thought, man, Clint Walker. I mean,
he's
I've always loved Clint Walker. So I asked Jim. I said, "You think he'd be open to me talking to him on the phone?" And he says, "Oh, I'm sure he would. Let me give him a call, and I'll call you back." And
that's how I ended up with visiting with Clint and stuff a lot is through James.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, I get hooked up with Clint, and I can still remember that first conversation. I'm talking on the phone with Clint, or listening to Clint, going, "This can't be happening." First the Virginian, now Cheyenne. You know? And he actually said, "I've been working on this plot," and he told me a little bit about it. He said, I don't know. I'm not a writer. I don't know how to put it out there. Is there any way you'd be interested in helping me? I'd like you to think about it." Well, what am I going to say? "Oh, I'll think about it and get back with you."
I have too many projects. I don't have time for this.
Yeah, so immediately maybe it would have looked better if I'd have waited, but I instantly said, "Yeah, okay, let's do that." And so that's how Yawkey Gold came about. 3 years later, I think, is when
wow,
put that one out.
So Clint and y'all got together and did this. How long did it take you to do this?
Oh, I think we started writing probably in 2001, and the book came out in 2003. So far shorter time than we've had in writing the second there's a sequel to this.
So what you're saying is you started doing things, okay, and you got out there, you're doing stuff, and pretty soon you're hooked up with a lot of your heroes.
Yeah.
You know, the Bible says, God's Word says that if you love God, the things that you put your hands to will be blessed. The work you put your hands to. Okay? Are you familiar with that scripture?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that means you got to do something, right? You got to work, and then, you know, you love God, you work on something, then the works of your hands will be blessed. God will bless them. See? And that's what it looks like to me with you, you know, that you started doing something and God has really blessed it.
Yeah, He definitely has.
That is fantastic.
That's what there's several of these books that have a dedication to God in there just because of that. I don't feel like I would have had my writing ability without Him. So
yeah, I can understand that. You know, my life's very blessed, and you know, and if I lay my hands to something, you know, that's where God wants me. You know, it'll really flourish.
Yep.
It'll really grow, and we're very blessed with things we do. We've got a lot of irons in the fire, and a lot of it's fun. You know, I mean, this is a lot of work.
It is, but it's fun work.
But and just like the toys we make and the Western movie stuff we do on the internet, it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work too.
Yeah.
You know,
you got to have both.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, lay your hands to something. Love God. Lay your hands to something, and God will bless the works of your hands. You know, but it won't happen overnight. I mean, you started writing. When did your first novel come out?
In '94.
'94, and then you ended up with James and with Clint in what year?
I think Jim started recording my stuff in 2000, I think, because this book came out. Lady Winchester was out in 2000, and that's the fourth one he did. So
okay, see,
it was either 2000 or 2001.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took some time.
It does.
And it was, funny thing was, I never dared dream that I was going to meet James Drury and Peter Breck and Clint Walker and all these guys that became friends.
Right. That is just amazing, and actually we just met yesterday, and got to visit and discovered we're both very big Marty Robbins fans, and that we knew a lot of the same people and did a lot of the same stuff. I'm not a fireman.
Yeah, I can't believe you're not a fireman.
I don't know how I missed that aspect.
Did you used to be a cop? Because
never been a cop. Were you a cop?
Oh yeah.
Were you really?
Yeah.
I was never a cop, never a fireman. Did you ever build cabinets?
I never built cabinets. I'm a horrible woodworker.
Really? So you never built homes?
No.
Okay, so while you were doing that, see, I was doing the other.
So you're doing something productive.
Yeah.
So
no, you were doing something productive.
If you'll come build my house for me, I will keep your house from burning down, and we'll both be happy.
That might be a very good bargain. Kirby, it's been great talking to you.
You too, Bob.
It's been fantastic. I'm so glad that my family got to meet yours and we got to talk. I actually purchased this book years ago from Clint in Abilene. I don't remember what year that was. It's probably 7 years ago, something like that. And then when you introduced yourself to me, yesterday when I saw your
My
T-shirt,
shirt introduced
your
us.
shirt, it says the
new Louis
new
L'Amour.
Louis L'Amour.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, who is this guy? But I didn't see the back that had your name on it, And so when I asked you, okay, you're the new Louis L'Amour, what's that mean? And when you introduced, I knew right away who you were.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. We were instant friends.
That's good. That's good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And hey, if you folks want to pick up some of Kirby's stuff, you can go to his website. And what's your website? Tell them.
KirbyJonas.com.
All right.